wonder if we're gonna have sound this time. Tyler Henderson. Incredible. Can you hear me at least? All good. Last time we lost sound. No idea why. Let's wait for a few people to get online. Oh crap, I'm running out of battery. Need to charge. Great preparation. Okay, now we're charging. How am I gonna put this phone out here? Stay. Oh man, this isn't gonna work, is it? Maybe. Quartz is on here. I heard Quartz is gonna make a comeback to the JQ team. Is that true, Quartz? Are gonna run JQ next year? Quartz had a midlife crisis. He ran JQ, and then he thought, you know what? I can beat these guys if I have a good car. So he got a Kyosho, and then he went backwards. Couldn't even beat me. Then he realized it's not the car, it's him. So I think he's over his midlife crisis now. And now he's saying he's retired. I think he'll still go racing. It's just because he has a new girlfriend. Gonna get married and all that. Did he already? I don't know. No, I think he just got engaged. Yeah, you are, Quartz. But so's Degani. He's still racing. You can race 40 plus. Quartz is racing 5th scale. Yeah. When you race 5th scale, that's bad. Then you know you're done. Okay, we got enough people. 100 people. Almost 100. Starting off with a shout out to Lunsford. How cool is that? I ordered some stuff. Kelly Lunsford's a good dude. Just sent me a bunch of stuff for free. Lunsford Racing, the best. Let's see what I got here. I can't use this bag. It's sealed. Got some titanium screws. Look good. Hinge pins. Titanium hinge pins. Turnbuckles. These are going on my car, not the Ghani's. Quartz has to get back to work. Making stuff from JQ Racing. Exactly. I've never had Lunsford stuff before, actually. This will be the first time. looking good. Has anyone tried titanium hinge pins? Any good? Hopefully. I did get my shirts, thanks. Already on sale in the web store. In America, that is. Okay, so today, time for the radio tray. Let's check the manual. Looks pretty straightforward. My philosophy with the radio tray is quite different to a lot of people. Some people complain, oh, there's too many screws, it's too hard to get out of the car when you clean it. Well, that's not how I look at it. I want to make the radio tray super easy so you can get everything out of it with the tray in the car. You can change the servo really quickly, get to the receiver, get to the battery, whatever you need to do, you can do easily without having to remove it from the car. That means that you can even change a warm-up you can change a warm-up, you can change a servo in warm-up. And there are not many radio trays out there that you can do that with. But with this you can, and that was the whole thinking behind the radio tray. But anyway, let's assemble this thing. The way I do it is I assemble it piece by piece onto the chassis, not into a radio tray and then into the chassis. Just piece by piece, assemble it onto the car. That's easier, I think. Yeah, the grey edition is the new e-car and it's shipping right now. So if you've placed an order, then it's shipped. So the battery box goes in the front. We've got two nuts that key into there. This is one mistake some people do. They use screws that are too long and then they poke into the LiPo battery in there, and that's obviously not good. So make sure not to use screws that are too long. You just need 10mm screws. Apparently we need quick change servos when we run Savok servos, but I don't think so. I think they're pretty good. They've been good for me, at least, for many years already. I took a shower? What's someone saying here? What do you mean I took a shower? My afro, can you tell from my afro? Pro Star carbon stuff? No, I don't have any Pro Star carbon stuff. Exactly. People don't read the manual, they put screws that are too long, and then you destroy your receiver pack. Battery box installed. The screws go through the side guard, through the battery box. Brake linkage. Yeah, I'll show you how to do the brake linkage. Hold your horses, people. We aren't that far yet. One step at a time. So throttle servo mounted, then receiver box at the back here. have you thought about coming out with aluminium balls instead of the steel like Hobao did? Yes, actually samples are made, and I'll be testing them shortly. Basically, I've said it somewhere, this coming year we're making a bunch of parts to make the car lighter. So the Lansford stuff, titanium hinge pins, turnbuckles, screws, then aluminium balls, and what are these called for the brakes? The brake calipers, or whatever the hell they're called. Yeah, and shock holders and a bunch of stuff we're going to make in aluminium just to lighten the car up. So there we go, this is how I assemble it. So all three separate pieces of the radio tray attached to the chassis. Then the radio tray itself. And I don't have servos now for this, so I'm not going to attach servos, but I'll show you how to do the linkage. What's going on? And yeah, we were supposed to talk a bit about practice. Practice and why some drivers are better than others, why most of us suck. Kind of talk about that a bit. And well, first of all, I'm going to talk more about racing. I mean, most people that race RC, they don't really take it that seriously. Then this doesn't necessarily apply. I mean, if you aren't seriously trying to be the best you can, if you're just having fun, then it's simple. Just have an easy to drive car and race and have fun. Like, don't think too much. But if you actually want to do well, then you should take a few steps and think about what you're doing, practice in the right way, and do the best you can. But I feel like some people get a bit lost. They want to do the best they can, but at the same time they don't want to practice or put any work in, and they just want to have fun. But you can't do that. Like, you have to choose what you want. Do you want to have fun doing your best and getting your best results? If so, then you need to actually focus, you need to practice, you need to think about what you're doing. Or do you just enjoy going to the track and whatever results you get, that's fine with you. I feel like some people get frustrated at the track because they aren't doing as well as they want to, but they aren't putting in the work. So it's like, well, how can you expect to do well if you're not going to prepare your equipment, if you're not going to practice? Then don't put such high expectations. You have to choose what you want to do. Like, that's step one. So I'm assuming that people watching here enjoy their racing and want to do the best they can. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So the first thing is preparation. Equipment makes a big difference. And some people like to say, well, this driver, he's so good, he can win with anything. Well, that's not true. If you look at the top drivers, a lot of the races are decided by who has the best equipment, because most of the drivers are equally good. So you can't say that, well, Tessman is so good he could win with anything. Give Tessman a bad car and he's not going to beat Cavalieri and Rivkin and Ronnefalk and Mayfield. Like, there's no way. He needs a good car and a good setup. So equipment is number one. But when I say that, I mean make the most of whatever car engine, tires, whatever you have. A lot of people think that, okay, I have this car, I have this engine, they aren't good enough. It's the equipment's fault that I'm not doing well. And then they start switching around. They try a lot of different brands. And that's not really, that's not the way to do it. When I say that the equipment needs to be good, it means you need to maximize the performance of what you have. So the tires you have, the car you have, engine you have, everything that you are using, you need to figure out how to maximize the performance of that. That should be your focus, not what someone else has, what you have. And that's where you start. So you pick the right tire compound of what you have, and you work on the setup for your car, and you don't worry about other people. If you have that attitude, then it's going to help you, guaranteed. And far too many people have the wrong attitude. They don't even bother maximizing the performance of what they have, and then they complain about their equipment. And that's not going to lead anywhere. Then the second thing is practice. So there are two things you should focus on when you practice. One is driving itself. After a time when you're a good enough driver, just driving around the track doesn't help. You could drive for 100 gallons and it's not really going to make a big difference if you don't think about what you're doing. And the best way to do that, to actually force yourself to improve, is to take times, lap times. So you need some sort of benchmark. You need to know what a fast lap is, and then depending on your level, you need to get within 1 second or 2 seconds of the best lap, or you need to match the best lap of the track, whatever your level, skill level is. And to do that, you practice just driving itself. You can set the car up in different ways and see if you can be faster. But when you hit that fast lap, then the way to improve is to start doing 5-minute runs. So you know your best lap, you know what a 5-minute run should be. So let's say a 5-minute run by the fastest driver at the track is, well, whatever it is, your lap time is 1 second off that, and that's, you're happy with that lap time. If a 5-minute run is 10 laps, then you should be about 10 seconds behind the fastest driver's time, right? If you lose 1 second every lap. So knowing this, that should be your goal, and you should just start practicing 5-minute times. Be consistent on your laps for 5 minutes and try and hit your goal. And that's the best way to improve, I think. Just going out there and driving doesn't really help. After a certain point, you know how to drive. So just driving and not thinking about it doesn't do anything for you. You need to have lap times, your best lap, and you need to do 5-minute runs. And if you do that a lot, then you will improve. It's guaranteed. But if you just drive and you don't think about it, then you're not really going to improve a lot. And what else? I was going to say something else. These small steering links, it's kind of hard to get the turnbuckle in, so I like to open it up a bit. Just the end there, so it's easier to thread in. Yeah, so I was saying, equipment, maximize the performance of the equipment you have. Don't worry about what other people have. Don't worry about switching this, switching that. Most of the cars on the market, tires, engines, they're good enough. You can win with the equipment you have. And that should be your focus. And then when you practice, don't just drive for the sake of driving. Have a goal, you know. You should know what lap time you want to achieve. When you achieve that, start doing 5-minute runs and try and achieve a 5-minute goal time you have. and then do that over and over and over. So that's the basic advice for driving. And mostly to be faster, what you need to do is focus on your line choice. Most of the drivers that are, how can I say, like average or slower than average, their biggest problem is they enter corners too fast. They don't maintain their speed in the corner. They spin out or go wide or whatever, just lose their speed in the corner. And that's why they're slower. They could be a lot faster if they just slow down a bit. So brake earlier, enter the corner slower on the right line, and then maintain their speed through the corners. So that should be your focus when you're driving, when you're trying to get that best lap, when you're trying to do a clean 5-minute run. Focus on your lines. Go into the corners slower and try and be fast through the corner and maintain the right line. That's the number one piece of advice I can give for driving. Okay, so radio tray is now in the car. I threaded the steering link, it's right there. And now I'll do the brake linkage and explain how I set that. But actually without a saw I can't do that, show you the alignment, but I'll do the best I can. Where did I put the arms? Okay, so you want to be faster. Practice, we covered that. Another thing has to do with the car setup. So there really are no shortcuts. Some drivers are just talented. If you look at someone like Joona Haatanen, the Finnish mainly 10-scale driver, or Jared Tebow when he started racing, drivers like that. Who else? Like Josh Wheeler. Ryan Lutz probably count into that category. Well, maybe not quite as, much as Tebow and Joona and this. But anyway, these drivers are so good that you basically give them any car and they can win. They can do well. And any setup and they can do well. That's what it seems like. Now, that's not normal. Okay, for most of us, we actually need a good car that suits our style, and then we can do well. So if you want to improve, you need to learn about setup. It would be a lot easier not to have to do that, but that's what you have to do. You need to learn to understand the basics of pistons and springs and sway bars and down travel and camber and upper links, roll centers. Even if you don't understand any of the theory, you just need to understand what it does to the handling on the track. So you know how your car feels, and you know how it will feel if you make a change. You have to do that. There's no other way, unless you have someone, your father or your mechanic, who is very good and experienced with setup, and all you do is drive and they do it for you. But that's also very unusual. So if you want to control your destiny in a sense, if your goal is to improve and be the best you can, you have to understand setup. And the only way to do that is you can read all the guides I've written, you can watch all the videos out there, and you're not going to understand or know it. You have to do it yourself. You can get the idea from those guides and videos, but you have to go to the track and you have to test for yourself. And when you do that, you should always keep notes. So you make one change at a time and you write down what you feel. What did it change on the car? What happened to your lap times or your 5-minute time? And then you just need to repeat that for all the different things: towing, anti-squat, shock positions, pistons, upper links, sway bars. You do it for all those different things, and you do it on different tracks, and you always keep notes, and you do that over and over and over, and then you learn to understand how the car reacts, what it does when you make these changes. And of course, most people don't bother doing that because they don't, it's a lot of work. It's not easy. Then they just ask me. Right? Okay. Throttle servo arm. Getting this done. Are you going to eat Lucky Dip tomorrow? That can't be for me. Then there's another thing that I feel holds some people back. When am I coming to Mexico? I don't know. I don't know. No idea. So another thing which I think holds some people back is they seriously wrench too much and they don't practice enough. So the focus is all on making sure the car is good and clean and new parts and this piece of bling and that thing and this option part. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't. Just focus on driving. Focus on learning setup, understanding what the car is doing. That's going to be way more valuable than sitting in the pits polishing your gearbox or something, But really, serious. Drive more, practice more. There's no substitute. Vittu Keijo. Henkka, sun pitäisi lähettää niitä lähetyksiä nyt, jengi itkee. Ai. Vilorio has read my Facebook. He's saying that I'm like a rhino. Rhinos live alone and mate every 2 or 3 years. It's like me. That's what he's saying. This guy claims to be my friend. See how he treats me. Tyler Henderson was here. He was the first one online. I don't know what happened. And about practice? I actually thought of something. Some people say, oh, this guy, he's just so talented, or that guy, or whatever. But nowadays, the drivers who are winning, they do actually practice too. They have to work on it, work at it too. If you look at someone like Ryan Lutz, for example, extremely talented, but he has a family, doesn't get to practice much. He's even said so himself. Races quite a lot, but that's it. Like, he races and relies a lot on his talent. What big race has he won? Like, big Nitro Challenge, Silver State, Raw Nationals, Worlds? 0. Could he have won? Yes. How could he win? If he practiced. Does Mayfield practice? Yes, he does a lot. Cavalieri, yes. Ronnefalk, yes. Tebow, yes. So even like the top drivers, talent or no, if you want to win, you need to practice. That's how it is. What brand nitro engine? I use Red's engines. That's coming up here soon. We need to put one in here. Reds. Linkage, it just sucks, right? This is the worst step of building a car. Well, this linkage. Sheesh. But at least I can use the grandfather pliers. So it's not all bad. Yeah, Cavalieri does practice. I mean, he probably mainly runs 10 scale at OCRC. But then when 8 scale season starts, he runs 8 scale too. They do practice. I'd say at that level, the equipment matters a lot more than what it matters at your level, dear viewers. No offense. But, yeah. Okay, so someone was asking about lining up the brake linkage. How am I going to do this? I'm charging my phone. It's kind of hard to do. But anyway, so the brake linkage here, don't over tighten it with this screw. Don't make it very tight. Loosen it a bit so there's a bit of play. So not just that it turns, but that there's a bit of play too. That's going to make it so it doesn't want to bind here on the levers. And if you didn't see when I built this, there are two key things with the levers too. So when you assemble them, they just extend maybe 1/2 mil through the brake cam. And then looking from above, you can see that the levers are in line with the center diff mount, not to one side. So that makes the biggest possible hole for the link to go through. If you do that correctly, then it greatly reduces the chances of any bind. If you twist the lever or you put it too low down, then the linkage could bind. Actually, I'd like to put those easy adjustment links on, but I don't know if I have any here. Maybe I have. It's not looking good. I have one. Wow. So I can't remember whose idea this was. Back in the days of GB Model Sport, someone gave me one of these. So it's basically a threaded, what are these called? Threaded collet that you lock on the lever with a grub screw, and then this piece threads on, and when you assemble it, you leave about a 1 mil gap there. That means you can adjust it in either direction. You can open it, which is going to add brake, or then you can close it, which is going to reduce the brake. So I only have one now. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this on the rear brake. And then basically you can just adjust the rear brake bias. So more rear brake, less rear brake. So there's this plastic piece that goes on first. Then a small piece of fuel tubing. And then this easy adjustment linkage. And then the same for the front. So the plastic ball. Then fuel tubing. And then just a normal collet. Mihail wants a shout out. What's that? Kilny Curse? Shout out to Kilny Curse. Is that a real name or is this some sort of joke? But anyway, if it is a real name, I hope you get better. What do you think about chassis manufacturers coming out with their own brand of fuel? Is that good for the industry or I don't know. I've never thought about that. At this point, the manufacturers need to sell whatever they can to make money. As you've seen, quite a few of them are struggling. So I don't know who's making that fuel. Probably the fuel manufacturers that already exist. They just rebrand and sell under a manufacturer's name. So I don't know if that makes a difference. It's like OS. OS is selling their engines, but they're also making other engines. Bullet, Protec, Maxima, whatever. There's probably more. So here, you see the linkage now? That's the easy adjustment linkage for the rear brake. Just a normal collet for the front. So there's the plastic piece, fuel tubing, and then the collet. Same here. Plastic piece, fuel tubing, collet. You leave it a bit loose here on the servo arm. You make sure that the levers are aligned correctly, so they're straight, they're not at any angle. Don't push them too low down. The loop is supposed to be outwards, and then you're not going to have any problem with the linkage binding. I can do another video when I have servos and it's going to be easier to show you. Okay, that's done. Oh, transponder mount. We need that. What else? Did we cover the practicing and learning about setup and all that stuff? Did we cover that? I feel like we did. What's going on here? Tyler Henderson is going nuts. Tyler Henderson is gonna get a tattoo of me on his bum. He's gonna get a tattoo of my face and tattoo it on his bum. This is what I'm dealing with here. Do I believe the RC community should be making something more for the sport to bring more people into the sport? Well, I don't know about the RC community, but I think race organizers should, and manufacturers should. I think what's missing in RC is the race organizers and the manufacturers working together for the greater good of RC racing. That's missing completely, I feel. At least in 8-scale off-road. The way it is now is race organizers organize a race. They ask the manufacturers to pay them money so they can put up some banners. And that's it. That's RC racing in a nutshell right now. But it could be a lot more. I mean, if there was a series of races, championship series, if manufacturers were on board, they supported the series, the race organizer would possibly be able to host races at motorsport events. Let's say a motocross race, a US motocross national, or a motocross world championship, or a rallycross world championship, or like we had in Finland at the WRC rally in Jyväskylä. They organized an RC race there, and we had, I don't know how many thousands of people that watched and saw the racing. Those sort of events need to happen, I think, because that's how you get more people interested in RC. The problem isn't that RC racing isn't appealing to people. The problem is that most people don't know it exists. So if more people see it, especially if motorsport enthusiasts see the racing and they see how fast the cars are, how strong they are, how powerful, how detailed, and how many setup options they are, and everything you have to do to them, and how technical it is, then I think a lot more people would get into the hobby. But now we race in remote locations, and the race organizers and the manufacturers aren't really on the same page working together. So it is what it is. So I think, yeah, it could be a lot better. Missing some messages. I'm really surprised Psycho Nitro Challenge hasn't done that. Done what? Since they must build the track in a week and tear it down. Dieter is saying first you need clubs. They support young guys. Give them cars for testing or make test days. Yeah, I feel in Europe there's more of a club scene. The tracks are clubs and not businesses. So it's very different to America, where the track is a business and they need to make money to survive. So it's a different approach. In Europe it's more of a club, community, everyone chips in, makes it work. It's just different. Yeah, I mean, people, I think the format isn't good if you want this to appeal to people who don't race. But I think it doesn't really matter to those people who just like RC when they see it. Like, they just like the cars going around the track. They like, because they've never seen it before. They like how powerful, how fast the cars are. It's just amazing already. So that actual racing itself doesn't even matter. They just see the cars going around, and that's enough to get someone interested who could potentially be interested. So yes, the race format could be better and more exciting, but I still think if there was an event where a lot of people get to see RC racing, the people who can potentially be interested will be interested, regardless of what the format is. Yeah, it could be a lot more professional on many levels, I think. So anyway, radio trays in. Done. I need servos now. I need some Savok servos. I think tomorrow we'll build the shocks. I promised someone I'd do the shocks. Completely wrong order of build, but doesn't matter. What else? One day we need to talk about diffs, diff setup. I know people were asking about that. Then other stuff like roll centers, explain that. Any other ideas? Yeah, shocks like pistons and springs. Then my RC room is a mess right now. I'll clean it up and then show you. Yeah, I think I would actually prefer that the starts weren't on a grid like they are now, but they'd be staggered somehow. If not, just one line like in motocross, then maybe 2 or 3, but just so they're closer together. Because now, what often tends to happen is, after extensive qualifying, the fastest guys are at the front, and then the difference between 1st and 10th is so big that you're never going to race together. Because you're already faster starting ahead, so it just makes for less interesting racing. But if the start was more like a motocross start, then it would make the racing better. Just like Dash for Cash races at Neo are usually good, because the slightly slower guys start first, and then the fast guys start behind them. So it bunches up the whole field, and it makes it interesting. The same way, if the start to the race was different, more like a motocross start, then it would happen more often that the slightly slower guys would get good starts, and some of the good guys would get bad starts, and it would just make the racing more interesting. Yeah, Cycross has the motocross start. I've never been, but I've never been because of the timing, but I'd actually really like to go. That's one race I'd like to do, and mainly because of that format. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out some video from there. I haven't seen any. Okay, I will. Thanks, James. I'll check Levi's Facebook. Okay, anything else? Are we done? People are skipping work, watching me build a radio tray and talk about practice. Okay, 16 seconds. Any questions? Where's the traitor? I can't believe Sandro isn't here. Kenny Morris, E-Buggy. See you.